Student housing's a problem. I mean, you name
No,
it.
you touched on a very, very important problem that we're facing, which is schools and school teachers. My school teacher, my kid's school teacher, she drives 45 miles in the morning just to get to school because she can't afford or find any affordable housing close within proximity of the school of my kids.
So why can't they? They all have pension funds. The pension funds have billions of dollars that are always trying to figure out how to allocate it. Why not allocate it for a solution for the people that are their constituents? Forgetting the government for a minute, like they've got access. So I've been working on some of those things. I can't announce them yet, but I mean, my view is that there is a rethinking of the public-private partnership that needs to go into creating housing in order to create housing.
But then even if we had these funds in place, and you just also kind of touched base on this, which is they're going to cost a fortune building these residential apartments in these urban cities, right? Or remote cities. They're going to cost a lot if they don't follow the modular approach, because your modular approach saves 30 to 50% of the total cost, right? But then if you're getting the conventional way,
25-ish percent, 20-25%.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. But more than that, what we don't calculate right now is the waste. So imagine if you could be if you could become efficient in the process.
That's a very good point.
If you don't, I mean, look, I love architecture, and I love many architects, not all of them, but the reality is that, and by the way, I just as annoyed when I go to countries that have like, what do they call it? Sort of workforce housing that looks horrible. I don't think you need to embrace horrible in order to be efficient, but you can embrace efficiency and make it beautiful rather than saying I'm going to, treat. I say this to people all the time, like, imagine if every time we were going to create something that moved, we decided we needed to see if there was a better invention than a wheel in order to make it move. And every time we design a building, we pretend like we've never built a building before in our entire lives. Were there any lessons learned? I don't know. Like, I just want to, like, here's a space and I want to just be creative and imagine it. By the way, I think there's a value to that. But the question is it a balanced value? And what can you do to embrace and everything we have, economy, everything we have is manufactured. I mean, the cars we drive are manufactured, the airplanes, I'm gonna have to talk about those, but are they manufactured? And the telephone we use and the computer, even the dishes we eat off, I mean, they're all manufactured, and somehow the built environment is different. And everything that goes into the built environment is manufactured. So we're just missing something. And I think we're just missing the collective cooperation to know that we have a problem. One of the things that I think a lot people forget a lot is, like, how do you organize your priorities? And what's the most important thing? And if the most important thing is to build at a cost effectively, then that's a whole different thing than I want an iconic, Bangladesh. It's a totally different set of parameters. So
of course,
but unfortunately, we don't generally look at the projects that way. We don't have here's our priorities. This is most important. This is second most important. This is third most important. And if we did, we would be radically more efficient.
Roger, is it easy, because we have tons of these that surfaced lately? Is it easy to convert commercial buildings to residential around these cities in urban areas?
Yeah, such an interesting question. I have a whole other theory on that, and I do believe that there is, not with what we do, but I actually think that there's opportunity. And one of the things I think that there's an opportunity for, and I've spoken to some of the guys from some of the other architecture firms that are spending a lot of time on this. Again, we need to embrace a bit of change. So let's take a commercial building for the moment. And the thing with commercial buildings that are interesting is, heavy floor loads, generally CBD located, mostly I'm in central business district. They're robust. They have very robust plumbing running up and down the building. They have a very robust mechanical system running up and through the building. But floor to floor, from a residential perspective, they're completely inefficient, right? Because you have the whole center that you can't use. Every bedroom needs a window, et cetera, so on and so forth. So if you're going to try to slice and dice these buildings, you're going to get, less than 60% efficiency. It's really hard to make that work. And then you're converting everything, adding new mechanical systems, et cetera. So what if you rethought that process and said, I'm going to create a new living environment for, co-located micro unit living that has lots of common area and amenity space, that has shared bathrooms, that has all these things. And it costs nothing to do that. I mean, it doesn't cost nothing, but it costs very little to do that, right? So if you had you take a floor of 20,000 feet and you put, 50 micro units in there, and then you have a spa-like bathroom, and then you have work areas like WeWork or whatever you call it. And then it's a totally different thought process. But in all honesty, our children live differently than we do anyway. So at least on the young professional side, there's probably opportunity to house a whole bunch of people cost effectively, comfortably, and in a way that they wouldn't mind living. But you have to rethink what living space means. And, many have already tried. There's the micro units, there's the shared living spaces, there's, you name it. Somebody's trying it, and there's opportunity, but rethinking it, in my mind, if you want to use the space, is incredibly required.
How big is that problem today, Roger? How many of the buildings out there are not going to be refilled again? People are just literally not going to go back to the.
I wish I was an economist to tell you that. I mean, my sense is that I don't know anybody who's in the office 5 days a week anymore. I mean, I don't know anybody. I mean, I have a factory and we're in the factory, but I mean, I don't know anybody who works any type of job that is sort of office focused that is ever there 5 days a week. So let's just assume that 100% of the people are there 20% less of the time. That pretty much answers your that. And that's worse. I think it's worse than that, but I'm just saying so we've got, let's say 25% of our office buildings are never going to be full unless they're repositioned in some way, right?
And there doesn't seem to be an unanimous decision or direction that anyone is taking, governments or
no, because they're trying to. I think they're trying to solve the problem without an.
Do they embrace the problem? Do they realize that this is not going to be refilled again anytime soon, or they're still rejecting?
Well, there's a bunch of those conversations, but I think more than that is I don't think you can say, okay, I'm just going to take this what I got elephant and I'm going to try to figure out how to make it work with a conventional thought process of how to do that. As an architect or as a designer or as a developer, you probably need to rethink about you should redefine what living is. You should redefine what working is, and really think about if there's something you can use that would make it wildly more efficient and comfortable and cost effective. And like I said, my kids are way more comfortable living ways that I could not imagine living in, but they're super happy about it.
How do you imagine the future of living to be like, Roger?
It's going to be very, I don't know. I hope that we figure out a way to make it so that people don't have to commute 2 hours a day. I mean, some crazy numbers. I heard the other day was less than 5, I think it's 3.5, but less than 5% of the workers that work in, say, San Francisco live within an hour and a half of where they work. Wow. So, I mean, that's just one number, but I don't think there's not that many different, there's tons of that, right? So that's a quality of life thing. So would people potentially live in a smaller space if they could live, they could walk out of their door and be at work in, a 15-minute walk or something. And I don't know the answer to that, but my guess is probably, if they're smart about it, is. Should
we build smaller units? Because
Yeah,
I mean, everywhere you keep bringing examples from different areas of the world, and then if you travel to Europe, if you go to other places of the world, they don't have the luxury of living in large spaces like we do over here.
no, I do think we look. I'm a huge, partially because of what I do, but I actually believe, from the world's perspective, living in conjunction, sort of in multifamily with people, with space that is shared, with redundancy that is not so cost prohibitive and is adjacent or close to where you work, is a huge value proposition that requires a realignment of priorities. But and so yes, I do think we should think about that. We think about it all the time. I mean, we have conversations about that all the time, and you can see sort of legacy information enter those conversations, right? I was having a conversation with a company you would definitely know in the last 2 days, and I was like, well, why don't we build like smaller units and create higher efficiency for the density, et cetera? And they're like, people want some more space. I'm like, okay, that's nice, but now they're living in like trailers in the parking lot. So like, is it better than that? Like, you get my point. I mean, that's a little bit extreme, but I'm just saying, like, there are conversations to be had about, like, really, are you sure that really is necessary?
Are they cheaper? Is it cheaper to build a multifamily housing development?
It's cost. Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I mean, I think on a per unit basis, it is. But I also think there's other value propositions, right? I mean, is sustainability, there's diversity of load, when we're trying to think about how to be sustainable and we have single source power and all of those things, then yeah, there's huge advantage. Like one roof, it's a bunch of things that is valuable. So,
do developers like it?
Some. More and more.
Why do you think? What's encouraging them to build more of these? Do they make more profit out of it?
Interest. They don't have to pay the interest. Cost effectiveness. Meeting the market need. All those things. Everybody's intrigued by it. It's just it's amazing. I always think of sort of, the old quote about, keep doing things over and over again the same way and expect different results. Like they know that what they're doing isn't, but they know it's the enemy they know, basically. I find it pretty frustrating. So.
Are developers' priorities shifting? Are they part of the solution or the problem today? Developers in particular?
I don't know. I mean, we're trying to move into we are moving into the development space ourselves because we believe that there is an opportunity and a market need. So we think that we can use our radically efficient system to help meet that need, and in conjunction with other developers. And I think that's probably how it grows. Is a sort of hand in hand.
You also kind of hinted about this earlier. Is the government doing enough to direct or steer these developers in one direction or the other?
No, they're not doing anything about that. I mean, they've tried a little.
Do you think they should, or have this consortium or committee, joint task committee that have both worlds?
I don't know. Look, the other governments have tried a bunch of things. Like the Singaporean government basically said, we own the land, so if you want to do this, you have to build it modularly, and that's very effective. The UK had all these. I'm not going to remember the British term for it. They have all these programs. That's not the right word, but I'll think of it in a second. It's a different nomenclature for the same thing. So they have all these things that you could participate in and create housing, and you get incentives to do that. And it helped a lot, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the companies that do it necessarily succeed, although it does create obviously a lot more modular housing. And then there's obviously places in the Far East, same thing. There's lots of like, Thailand's doing sort of its fair share, Malaysia's tons. So you know, I think that there is an opportunity, but the role they can play. I mean, I am a big believer that, we have to do it together. I mean, public-private has to be aligned. Because even if I came to any city in, Acme City, USA, and went to the government and said, I can finance, deliver, manufacture all the housing you need for Acme State University, no problem. All I need you to do is pave the way for the process to work, not asking for any changes in code or any changes in the safety of the work or anything. All I need to do is make it so that it doesn't take me a freaking year to get I'm not sure how many of those groups could do that. I think that many of them would like to, but whether they could or not, I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about FullStack Modular here. How big is the company today?
We have 2 factories, east and west. We have roughly 30 management group, and then we have obviously variable workforce depending on the throughput of the factories.
Are you happy with where the company is at today?
I think we're headed in the right direction. I think you've known enough about me in the last few minutes of talking that I'm not quite ever satisfied, but I think we're heading in the right direction. So we're doing some super exciting projects, and
talk to me about some of these projects.
No. I mean, we're working with a lot of developers about, sort of creating the attainable workforce housing, student housing, in the areas that are needed in a design build process, in hand, and it's super exciting. So.
Perfect. And what's your vision for FullStack Modular? If you were to think about it 5 years, 10 years down, is it just growth or?
No, I mean, I think there's 2 parts of that. One of them is obviously we're our own developers so that we can keep our factories wildly efficient and capable in creating the need that's necessary on the one side, and then the other side is as our factories expand and we expand factories, eventually operating a factory is not that complicated. We would love to provide, for lack of a better term, sort of a franchise opportunity to build modular buildings using full stack system anywhere in the world. I mean, I get emails from Africa and Asia and the Caribbean and every day of the week. And I would love to be able to say, no, I don't really want to open a factory everywhere, but we'll give you the back end support in order to do that. And I think that that's the place we'll end up.
Speaking of manufacturing, and you have 2 factories, what are the challenges facing that industry today?
Typical thing, employee training, logistics. So the interesting thing about the built environment is, many things, as I told you, have been manufactured for decades, if not, 60, 70 years. The built environment has not. So supply chain for construction is not used to what's needed in a manufacturing environment. And I'll just use an example, even though it's not exactly perfect, like just-in-time delivery of product. Like if you go to like a Ford plant, all around the Ford plant are all the suppliers. So we're not there yet, and we have some work to do. And so that's a challenge. Right?
I have one more question for you, and I'll let you go. I know you're a very busy man.
All good. I appreciate this conversation.
Absolutely. So what role do you see for public-private partnership in driving innovation and progress?
I think it's not. I don't think it's a role. I think it's a requisite. I think it's requisite. We have to do it together. We have to use, commerce-related, private business and public access to solve the problems. It can't be one. It's got to be together. It's got to
be together. Yeah. It only works if it all works.
Exactly.
Obviously, so you got to get both hands working together if it's gonna advance. My last question to you: some of your hobbies? Do you even have time to practice any hobbies?
I do. I do. I love cooking is my biggest avocation. I cook all the time.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I love bicycling and skiing. And
what's your favorite dish? Speaking of cooking.
Yeah, that's a long conversation that we don't have time for. But like pan the world, I mean, I cook Asian, I cook African, I cook Italian, I cook
oh my God.
French, I cook, yeah, so you name it. So
super exciting.
Ayman, where's your name? Where are you from originally?
I'm Lebanese American.
Got it. Yep. So Lebanese, I have a very good Lebanese friend. We cook together all the time. Yeah. So
not gonna press you there.
I can make a min fatouche and my mujadra.
Oh my gosh! There you go.
My mujadra is pretty good. So
there you go. There you go. You got it right then.
Okay.
Roger, thank you for the time. I highly appreciate it. My next episode on this show will be with USC lecturer and author of Common Ground, multifamily housing as well in Los Angeles. His name is Francis Anderton. Feel free to follow our page, and then you'll be able to get some snippets around that conversation. But thanks again. I really, really appreciate the time. And good luck on FullStack Modular. And hopefully we'll talk again.
Thank you for your time. Looking forward to it.
You as well.